Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing well. I ate good today.
We did, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're at the Wealth and Power Conference down in Austin, Texas. It's nice
hmm
down here.
It is nice. It's 95 degrees. We got off that airplane.
Oh, it
It
was
was
hot.
so dang hot.
It was hot. It was like plantation hot.
It was like, dang, come on.
Oh my gosh,
But it's
yeah.
a dry heat. It wasn't very humid.
Yeah, it wasn't
So it
bad
wasn't
at
so
all.
bad.
I like Texas.
Texas is a cool big old state.
I
Big old
like
country of a state.
Oh, having a good time. So anyway,
hmm
I hope you guys can hear us okay. As you guys come in, make sure you shout out the city that you're from and give us a yes in the chat. Let us know you can hear us okay. In case you don't know, Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins is where my wife and I, Dr. Alicia Watkins, get together and have intelligent, fun conversations about important things that are happening in the Black community. Her PhD is in social work, and she's a licensed therapist and a full professor, and also an expert on things like trauma and relationships. And I am a finance professor, and I like to talk about economics. And I'm gonna tell you what, this is a big topic in terms of relationships and economics. And actually, as you guys give me a yes in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. Okay, can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. And Vic is asking, do I still play Call of Duty? Periodically. I got kind of mad because they changed the game. I got kind of they
Well, I
call.
saw you playing the other day. What was
I
that
well, I'm trying to
about?
get back into it, but they messed it up. You know, they've lost tens of millions of players.
Just because they changed the format?
Yeah, because they're
Y'all
messing.
can't adjust. Y'all
Yeah,
gamers are so rigid.
I know. Ah. Anyway, all right. So, anyway, how many of you give me a yes or no? How many of y'all heard about what happened with Tupac? Did y'all hear that Tupac? They just found or they just arrested a guy, Keefe D.
Yes.
Keefe D is accused of being one of the brothers uh, that took the life of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas in 1996. And Keefe D, in case you don't know, Keefe D's real name is Dwayne Keith Davis, and he's about 60 years old.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, he's born in 1963. And Keefe D, apparently, I guess the understanding was that he was in the car when Tupac got killed. The guy that pulled the trigger, I forgot the brother's name, but they said that he was killed in a gang related shooting in 1998. And so it was kind of, I was really surprised. Now Travis says he watched the Vlad video. I didn't see the Vlad video. You know, people say that guys go on Vlad and they start snitching on themselves.
Why?
I don't know because people
Do they
just,
make you feel that comfortable on that
I
show?
guess,
Where
I
you just
guess.
like, come on here. We're just gonna make you confess everything. So wait, my question is like, what evidence do they have that he
Um,
did this? Because and did it just now become known? Like I've heard
um,
so many conspiracy theories about Tupac.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what new evidence they had, but I know that there was a Compton police officer that filed an affidavit, I guess, to
Is this
kind of.
recently? Like what conjured up an interest in this
Well,
all of a sudden?
Travis says it was bullets. I don't know Travis Allen, but he seems pretty smart. So
Travis is on it. He's
Travis, well, you know, everybody's on it. We have a lot of little Tupac investigators,
yeah,
like
because that was part of my prime time.
a lot of little
Tupac.
Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes
That's
people in the Black
right.
community, like everybody trying to solve the mystery. Travis says that the bullets match the gun. Okay, so he says the bullets.
Yeah, but haven't they had bullets on for a while?
I mean, it seems like they would have figured this out
This
in
should have happened.
1998.
Yeah, a few months after, like right after they should have known.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Papa. Oh, Papa says, "Oh, this is interesting. The evidence is that it's election season, time for a distraction."
Oh, now you know what? That's something about the timing.
That's a
Like,
possibility.
why now? Why now?
Mm. So Keefe D. Okay. So Pete Funkerson says Keefe D. told on himself when on the Art of the Dialogue. They asked him about what Mike Tyson said. Okay. So what did Tyson say? I saw Keefe D. on the Art of Dialogue, but I didn't hear everything. I remember hearing him talk about Diddy, and he was saying that Diddy owes him big time because he saved Diddy's life a bunch of times and stuff like that. So this
Oh,
becomes interesting because a lot of people, I think, like I talked to my friend Vigilante, the rapper
yeah.
out of Kansas City, KCK, not Casey Mo. He's like a hip hop historian. This man knows everything about everybody when it comes to hip hop history.
Wow.
He should be in Harvard teaching hip hop history. I
They
kid you
may
not.
pick him up. You know, Harvard and stuff. They pick up rappers and stuff.
They should, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and our buddy D1 is teaching,
that's
on hip
right.
hop at
Is he
Tough.
at
I
Tufts?
think it's Tufts. He was at Harvard.
Come
Yeah,
on.
but they also need to go bring in Vigilante. Anyway, Vigilante, I texted him. He was the first person I reached out to when I found out, and I said, "Okay, tell me about Keefe D." And he told me, gave me the whole breakdown. That he was gang affiliated, kind of an OG type. He was involved with, connected to Diddy, and a lot of people are kind of getting suspicious.
Oh, you think this is gonna run up to Diddy? You think it'll
Um,
expose something?
I don't know.
Ah,
I do know that there's a conversation, and really, this is the part that, in case y'all want to know why we're talking about this, not just because we lived in that era and this was big for a lot of us, but when you talk about Diddy and Biggie and Tupac and everything else, one of the things that I thought about from an economic standpoint is that a lot of people don't realize that these all these guys are billion-dollar brands. Because a $1 billion brand is basically an asset that can generate enough money on a recurring basis that when you use a specific multiple, you get a number over $1 billion. That's what $1 billion brand. So $1 billion brand could be something that makes 80 million a year, but under growth rate assumptions, it could be worth $1 billion. That's how you a billionaire. Made $1 billion. He made like over 100 million in 1 year, and Forbes attached a multiple of I think 12 or 13, and it ended up being over $1 billion. So they declared him a billionaire. That's how you value financial assets. You look at the recurring cash flow and you make certain assumptions on discount rates and growth rates. And so the interesting here is uh-oh, can you guys hear us? Let us know if you can hear us. We got booted out. Your mic is muffled. See this?
Mike is muffled.
I'm going to talk to Tim Cook from Apple. Your
Be
devices are
like,
faulty.
Tim,
Can you
what's
guys
going
hear us?
on?
Give us a yes if you can hear us, and I'll finish what I was saying. Let me know if you can hear us. Camera says it's the full moon. Now we can
That's
hear
a
you.
beautiful moon
Are we?
today.
It was
It
amazing,
was
right?
orange. It was bright orange.
Yeah, crazy.
Anyway,
Okay, you can hear us now. Okay. All right, yeah, I turned off this crappy hotel Wi-Fi. Sorry about that, guys. So what people don't understand is that the Biggie Pac rivalry also had an undertone of economic warfare. Because Tupac was a $1 billion asset for Death Row Records. So by killing Pac, it's not just a matter of getting revenge on him for hit him up. It's also a matter of saying, I'm also going to destroy your ability to make money because anything Tupac put his name on was gonna, turn to gold. And so when Pac ends up getting killed, well, the retaliation was to tell Diddy, okay, well, you killed our $1 billion cash cow. We're gonna
we're
take
gonna
yours too.
kill
Yeah,
yours.
yeah. And economics is a heavy undertone in it because also you had the East Coast West Coast rivalry being pumped up by media. Why? Well, because they could sell magazines. Because they knew that the attention that was being drawn by this whole phenomenon was also profitable. So money is kind of the undertone of this. And when give students economic lessons in the Black Business School, I want them to look at situations like this and see the economics that's all around it. If you take the economics out of the Biggie Pac situation, both of those guys will be alive. You take the economics out, both these guys will be alive. So I really think people should really understand what was going on here financially. So now, one thing I was thinking about with yourself is that you and I talk a lot about relationships and conflict resolution in particular. And I've also, talked extensively about how conflict can be costly. When you go to war, money gets lost when war happens. When you're fighting with people that you shouldn't be fighting with, you lose money, you lose wealth. And so conflict resolution is an economically intelligent skill to have. Because imagine this: imagine if Biggie and Pac had sat with Louis Farrakhan, and Farrakhan mediated the dispute and got those guys to not only stop being enemies but to actually become allies again. And so Biggie and Pac come out and they make an announcement and they say, "We're going to do a joint album, called Riding Together Again or whatever." How many copies of that album do you think they could have sold? Like, seriously, how many can you all imagine that? Imagine an album with Biggie and Pac together. Do you know how many? I mean, how many? It would have broke all kinds of records. They'd be up there with the Beatles. So my point is to say that people should see the economic implications of black people fighting, and why we're trained to fight each other, why we're trained to hate each other, we're trained to kill each other, because it destroys our power, destroys our economics.
Okay, so it just seems like hip hop, even from its inception, there's always been a beef. It just seems like I remember when I was a Catholic schoolgirl going to see Kumo D. Remember Kumo D? Who
You
was
went to
he
see
battling
you went to
with?
see Kumo D
I
when you were
did. And it
a
was,
Catholic schoolgirl?
yes, Catholic schoolgirl, elementary school, I think maybe junior high,
Your Catholic
going to
schoolgirls
see.
were just out of control.
But what I don't understand is that why that our parents just drop us off on the corner of Chicago somewhere by the United Center, and just like there's no cell phones, there's nothing, and they're just
Yeah,
like, we'll just be meet us. You know what it was? We're gonna drop you off on this corner, and after the concert, you stand on this corner and you meet us in the same place where we dropped you off.
that's just so horrible.
Like that was
That is so horrible.
we were from Gary, but we were Catholic schoolgirls. I don't know how our parents knew that, but I know like there's always a beef. Didn't LL Cool J have a beef with Kumo D?
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Like, and I just remember just all through hip hop, there's a beef. And it's like when you're new on the scene, how are you gonna get notoriety unless you got some beef with
well, the
somebody?
difference
Like,
is, as Robert Coleman says, is they kept it on wax. LL did not roll up and shoot Kumo D and kill him.
no, well, that was
Right.
the that's interesting because that was sort of like the anomaly with this. Usually it's just a beef that just happens as a, kind of like let's put it out on lyrics. But this beef was really something extra. And I don't think we've seen anything quite like it since then.
Oh
But
no, well, not quite like it, but there've been lots of rappers have been killed in beefs now. I mean, now it just happens so often. I don't think it makes the news
it
anymore.
doesn't even make
But
sense.
most Chicago drill rappers don't play.
Well, what I was gonna say is that after the whole East Coast West Coast beef, hip hop took a turn.
Well, it got all
It
shiny and
it got no.
materialistic,
It
did
just
he?
it just it went to me. It just we lost control of the whole industry by then. Like it just seemed like the
It
music
got
was just
gentrified.
the music got gentrified, and it was a different. There was a whole different flavor of music because you think about even Biggie Smalls. You think about like some of his music. Like it was fun. Like some of it was fun. It was good storytelling and everything. But it's just like hip hop went down. It was a really low West Coast thing.
Well, I do agree, and I mean, I really have to say, as a huge Tupac fan, I was a massive Tupac fan. I was a decent Biggie fan.
What? You
I
took a side.
I
We're
liked it. I
Midwesterners.
liked
We
it.
take
Yeah,
a side.
I liked him, but even he and
Really?
I are like almost the exact same age. I think his birthday's like a few days around mine. And it's funny, when I met Ice Cube, I found out that me and him were both Geminis, and our birthdays were.
When
It's like,
Tupac came out with Hail Mary,
it's just,
oh my God. I played that song
yeah,
over
man,
and over
look
again.
at me. But no, but seriously
It
though,
was a
like,
jam.
but what's funny is like these guys. This was my generation, right? Like I was I think a couple weeks, maybe. Tupac and our birthdays are pretty close. When I talked to Ice Cube, I found out we were both Geminis, and then Dame Dash, when he and we were hanging out a lot. Dame was like literally like a week older than me, and I said, is that why you trying to tell me what to do? Because you think you're my older brother, And we would joke about it, but it's like even at that stage, being a big fan of Tupac, and that was a real pivotal time in my life because shortly after Tupac got killed, my best friend Greg Wilkins got shot in front of his daughter. shot in the head actually, and it still affects me to this day, But anyway, I remember feeling like Tupac was pushing things too far. And I think that people told him he was pushing things too far. Ice
Mm.
T, Ice T was talking about Ice T. I saw an interview. Ice T was like, he said, man, Tupac, man, he bought that album, he bought that song, Hit 'Em Up to my house, and I told him, man, he said, look, I ride with you, Tupac, but you might be going too far, man. And then Willie D, Willie D, he's our good friend. He was in our wedding. Willie D from the Ghetto Boys. When I talked to Willie about Tupac, he said that when I heard Hit 'Em Up, he said, I just said somebody finna die. That's how Willie said. He said, I said,
Fitness.
how he talk, he's Texas, right? He said, I told my friend somebody finna die because it was just so. It was a great song, but it just kind of made things too real. Like he's like, I'm gonna kill all you like, okay, so we're just gonna kill everybody now. So think about this, right? If you go back, I listened to that song after the arrest was made. I listened to Hit 'Em Up carefully, right?
Yeah.
First thing I realized is because every time I listen to it, I see something different. First thing I realized is that everything in the song was pretty whack except for when Pac was rapping. Like literally, all those other guys.
We don't even know. I can't even name you the other
See,
guys on that song. All I know is that's the Tupac song.
yeah, like can y'all name anybody who rapped on that song other than Tupac? Does anybody remember anybody who rapped on that song other than Tupac? I don't remember any of those guys. And it was like, but Tupac has so much charisma and skill, and he had the right voice inflection that even when he was talking at the end, where he's like, even the part at the end where he's just talking, he's not even rapping. It's like
what
he's still, and then he gets to that point. So this is the part where I think, the police probably are going to look at Diddy because think about what he said about Diddy and Bad Boy. He said, fuck Diddy, fuck Bad Boy, fuck you as a record label staff and the other ucking crew. And if you down with Bad Boy, then uck you too. So it was almost like it's like a whole nuclear bomb, like just on that whole.
And he used their beat.
Oh, that's right. And that song, Get Money. Like that was a Junior Mafia song.
How do you get the release to use someone else's beat?
I don't think they got releases back then. But
you had to. There's some copyright issues. Like I wouldn't, if I put a song out and someone used the beat that I put that song out to diss me on, like I'd be like, wipe that song off the radio.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how those things work. D1.
That had to have been
D1. Remember I told you about the mixtape D1 put out. I made a fleeting comment on Vlad's platform. I don't go on Vlad's platform anymore. I think there's something funny about that. But I made a quick little remark where I said D1 reminds me of Lil Wayne. I said he has the same hairstyle. They both have dreads. They're both from New Orleans. They both have that accent.
So one is dark, one is light.
One's dark, one's light, but one, I said one is like it's like they were separated at birth because they both use their talent in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so D1 I didn't know this, he did a whole mixtape off of that called Separated at Birth, where he took all of Lil Wayne's beats and he changed the lyrics, right? So when he was about to release this mixtape, I never told you guys about this, but when he was about to release that mixtape, Lil Wayne's record label hit up his record label and said he cannot release that mixtape. So D got really upset because he said that his label told him that he couldn't release it. That's why he chose to go independent after that, because Epic would not release it because somebody from Cash Money called him.
Well, okay, so I want to talk about Tupac now.
Yeah,
Tupac is such an anomaly because when he was murdered, assassinated, or whatever, there were three things going on. He was 10 toes deep into this gangster rap sort of thing, but he was also the leader of the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
He was head of the Black Panthers.
He was so complex.
Very complex. Not only was he head of the Black Panthers, 10 toes deep into this element, right? But he was engaged to Quincy Jones's daughter.
I heard about that.
That is like three things about him, right?
You remember what he said about Quincy, right?
What did he say about Quincy Jones?
I gotta make sure that I don't even want to say it because
we know the rumors about Quincy Jones.
Well, because it was so crazy that it kind of. I feel weird saying it out loud because I'm like, there's no way I really heard this,
Are
but
we crossing the line? Is this too much of a pillow talk that
well,
we're like saying stuff that we
yeah,
get in trouble?
I think he made a remark alluding to the idea that Quincy liked him in a very special way.
Love me
Love
in a special
me
way.
in a special way.
Well, he was getting married into the family. But see, that would have been a good move for him because that's it. You have TV shows and more movies coming out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just like Tupac was just a strange character.
Well,
Complex, very contradictory.
well, he was brilliant, charismatic, highly capable, but I think he went too far. I feel like I don't
He
think
was
Biggie.
angry.
Yeah, I don't think Biggie. Well, you think about it. I mean, the poor guy
Hmm.
he had just got ambushed and shot up a bunch of times at the studio. So
Yeah.
I think you're probably paranoid. You're not sure who
Hmm.
did what. He's been traumatized by prison. You know, he went to prison, and
Yeah, for the sexual assault.
yeah, yeah, and
Gee whiz.
so it's kind of like he, I just think I mean, you're a trauma expert, and I can only
Hmm.
imagine that going through that kind of trauma, like getting shot several times, including your testicles, by people that you thought were your friends.
Your
I imagine that
friends.
would fit somewhere on the trauma scale.
Yeah, well, I mean, being an inch of your life and having to come back from that.
Mm,
Good
mm,
grief.
mm. Yeah, so maybe in his mind, I don't know if there's something for this like medically in your profession, but I would imagine in his mind maybe he had already died.
This is his second chance.
Yeah, like
So he was just balls out for real.
he
Like,
really was.
no, he was like, there is no filter on him. There's no muzzling him. Tupac is gonna say it.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
don't care.
and it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's almost like hit 'em up. Um,
Woof.
what the artistic brilliance of hit 'em up to me was interesting because it's like what made the song so compelling was his sort of no holds barred passion.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna just say it, let it all out. Ain't
Mhm.
you? There's no ambiguity here, nothing subtle, and so in a way, it's like. But then again, though, some would try to make the argument that could be the song that got him killed, and it's almost like the artistic in the sense that I remember watching the Fifth Element, that terrible Bruce Willis movie a long time
I
ago.
love that movie.
Yeah, they
You don't like
well, I
that
don't know if it
movie?
was in the Fifth Element or not, but anyway, they talked about this planet where the opera singers would train their entire life to be able to hit one note, hit one super high note.
Uh-huh.
And once they hit that note, they would just kill themselves. They would just die. They say, "I did it. I hit the high note.
That's the ultimate.
Now I'm done.
I've
This is
sacrificed myself for this great achievement. I'm going above and beyond. I don't care if at the end of it I'm going to end up crossing over to the other side. Like that's my purpose in life is to hit this note and to be gone.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like the ultimate,
Yeah.
most passionate form of artistic expression you can find. Now that
Yeah.
I've done this, I can die now, right?
Absolutely.
So it's almost like you think about "Hit 'Em Up," right? And I don't know if people would say "Hit 'Em Up" was the greatest diss song ever in hip
Oh,
hop, but it's like
oh, it's
Tupac,
up there. I
right?
don't know one that could well, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You look at Tupac, it's like, okay, he died way too young. If he was alive, he'd be a billionaire. He'd be an old fat billionaire like all these other guys. But he died young, and that made him almost like this unimpeachable saint of hip
Yeah.
hop. Like he was the first hip hop saint. Jay Z can never be Tupac.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that now that so a lot of these rappers they come out and they just seem like there's no muzzle on me. I'm going to say what there is to say. I'm against the status quo. Like I think that's what makes hip hop so wonderful is that we are going to be against the system and we're going to be if everybody's going left, we're going right.
Mm.
But I think what's fascinating is that now that all these rappers are getting 50, they seem to be like so establishment to me.
Well, I mean,
You know,
Snoop
they're
Dogg's
not
basically like
like
a skinny black Santa Claus.
there's no
He's like the
there's
most
nothing
lovable Negro. He's like
there's
what?
nothing threatening about black rap 50-year-old rappers except only one exception is Ice Cube.
Well,
He's still kind
Ice
of
Cube
threatening
is
because
yeah.
he's not with the status quo. He's the only exception. So we'll just see what happens with that. He's not in the in group.
Well,
so much.
no, he's not. He's not.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, the fact that he was on the phone with somebody like me, that right there get you in
He wasn't
trouble.
in the, yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
that's like
What was he doing? He ain't know what he was doing.
you know what?
Getting in,
I think he did. I think Ice
he
Cube.
didn't care.
I was impressed with Cube because I wasn't impressed with Kanye when I talked to him. I was impressed with Cube because Cube is committed to something bigger than himself, and
Mm-hmm.
he understood what his strengths and weaknesses were, and he was pretty fearless in terms of doing what he thought was right for the black community, and I can work with that. I think Kanye's maturity, his growth is going to have to be dealing with that. He's very arrogant. He's very self-absorbed. In my view, to be honest with you, and so with Cube, I feel like he became the threat because he became the ultimate threat. He became an intelligent black man that was free thinking. Whereas a
Mm-hmm.
gangster is not a threat. They got gangster rappers everywhere. They control them with money. They tell them to get on stage in front of 100,000 white people and call yourself the N word, and they do it, and white people love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's completely detached, honestly, from black culture. We only look up to it because they have a lot of money, but they're not really representing who we are at our
Well, I
core.
mean, I just think, like, I'm thinking about, like, some of the music, though, the early hip hop music, it was just great for me to hear that because it was stories and ideas and everything being told that was never told before. And I
Hmm.
think that that's what made it so wonderful. It was counterculture. And
True.
and um and you see some of those same people, they're not counter anything to
No.
me.
Well,
Like
they're trying to get
they're so
that white. Well, they're
non-threatening.
trying to get money from white people. Like that's and that's it's like okay, as long as you stay in this little box we made for you, then we'll
Yeah.
let you have all the money and power that comes with that,
Yeah.
right?
And then right now we've dwindled down to Sexy Red. And so it's
Oh
all a rap.
God,
It's
don't talk
all a
about sexy
rap.
red.
It's
Oh,
all a rap now. It's all over with.
my coochie pink, my booty hole
Would
brown.
you stop saying,
That's her most
y'all,
famous lyric.
wait, yeah, yeah, everybody listening. Do you all know that I'll just be in the kitchen and boys will walk up to me and be like, and sing, he'll be singing that little lyric. And I'm like, not today, boys. I'm trying to cook a decent
Well,
meal for the
Well, I
family.
think sexy red is fascinating. In case y'all know who sexy red is, just go Google her if you want a good laugh. She just really
If you want a
reflects.
good laugh,
She reflects an all time low for hip hop. Like she literally, she made it official. Hip hop.
you will lose brain cells listening to her.
It's become clown music. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it. It's
Well,
just
that's what we've dwindled down to is Sexy Red lyrics.
yeah. She's something
Just
else.
when you thought it couldn't get any
Oh
worse.
Lord, and it's gonna get worse.
Sexy Red was like, we were like, how can hip hop music get any worse than it is? Sexy Red was like, hold my beer,
Hold my
hold
beer.
my beer. I'm about to show you how bad it can
And
get.
they got another one in the wings that's gonna
It's somebody
outdo. That
else.
somebody's gonna outdo her, and it's just a race to the
I
bottom.
can't even think of what could be worse than that.
And I feel bad because it's unfortunate because I feel like communities are led. I don't care. I probably sound sexist when I say, it, but I believe men have an important leadership role in the community. And when we started falling for the okie doke and letting our music decline in terms of disrespecting women, disrespecting ourselves, rapping about killing black people, and just racing to the bottom, I think the women started to just follow suit. I think that, because you had in the 90s, you had so many great artists.
Queen Latifah.
Lauren Hill. Lauren Hill was the
What
epitome.
happened to Lauren Hill?
I don't know.
Like, she needs to tell her story. Like,
Yeah.
that's another, and that's another thing. Like, she was so fresh when she came out. So it was
Hmm.
Lauren Hill. I mean, it was other people too, but I mean, that
Yeah.
album was a classic. The Miseducation of Lauren Hill. It's a classic.
Well,
One of the best albums ever.
I'm friends with E40's sister, Sugar T, and Sugar T, her explanation in terms of what happened with music is, she felt like she blames the OG rappers, the guys in her brother's generation, for
Being
aban-
sexist.
well, yeah, basically abandoning the quality female rappers that were out there, not letting them age with the genre,
Oh.
and instead embracing like the youngest prettiest thing on the block, like whoever wanted to take her clothes off and rap naked, or rap naked while she's twerking and
Mm.
all that. And I think that was a good point. And so she's been fighting for this idea that like, look, y'all get showing this respect to the OGs that are men. What about the women? What about, yo yo? You can't play with my yo
Yo,
yo.
yo, what?
Don't try to play me
No,
out. Don't
don't
try
try
to
to
play
play me
me out,
out.
right?
What?
Yo, Sugar T, ooh ooh ooh, sprinkle me, girl. And then you had what's an MC Light? Like you have so
MC
many
Light,
great,
yeah.
or even Little Kim. Like Little Kim,
She was good back in her 90s.
she was, but she was the original Cardi B, and then you had after
Yeah.
Cardi, you had who was Cardi? No, she was before Nicki Minaj. So her and Nicki had a jealousy thing, and then after Nicki came Cardi B. So Nicki was jealous of Cardi, and then after Cardi came Megan the Stallion, and
Wait, you're
the
leaving one
the
out.
one that was hanging out with Umar Johnson, Suki Hana,
Now I
and
don't even. Now
Sexy
you're getting
Red.
into the C list, D list rappers because I don't even know who they. I can't even. I don't know who they are.
The Suki Hana, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Oh, there's Foxy Brown. Okay, thank you, Feet Funkus. See,
Foxy Brown. Oh my goodness, I loved her. What happened to her? Oh, remember she didn't snitch. Was she the one that?
I
Wasn't
don't,
there like a snitching
I
thing with
can't, I
her?
don't keep up with who goes to jail.
I was
No, I
really
don't
into
remember who
that.
did what. Really?
This is my culture.
No,
It's who. It's where it's.
well, some of it's my culture.
I love Foxy
Some of it, I'm
Brown.
gonna
What
leave
you
that
talking
to.
about?
I'm gonna leave this.
Dun
Some
dun
of
dun
some
dun
of it's
dun dun
culture
dun.
created by
Mm,
Jewish record labels. But
mm,
anyway,
mm, mm, mm,
all
mm,
right. So
mm.
anyway, do us a favor. Could y'all hit the thumbs up button? Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, and my wife is a full professor of social work and a licensed therapist. She sees clients on an individual and collective basis. So if you'd like to take a look at what she does, you can visit coachingwithdralicia.com. And on Pillow Talk, my wife and I get together and we just try to have fun, intelligent conversations about things happening in the Black community. And I want to remind everybody that the All Black National Convention is just a few weeks away now. This is where we have the largest gathering on earth of intelligent Black people. We are going to invest $250,000 bringing together the smartest Black people in the B1 community to solve problems for our people. And we do this every year. We've done this for 9 years, and we have so many experts that are coming. The Black Doctoral Network is going to be in the building. That's the largest organization on earth of Black PhDs. And so we're making Black history this year. So if y'all would like to join us in Atlanta, October 20th through the 22nd, just visit allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. So I hope that we can all get together and solve our problems and make our people better, as we also have done in the Black Business School, where we have 156,000 students worldwide. We've created the first ever Black financial therapy department where we get the best Black therapists to help us to figure out the psychological barriers to building Black wealth. So that's what we do. That's what we believe in. That's who we are. All right. So anyway, today we're talking about Tupac Shakur, and turns out that there was an arrest made in his homicide. A brother named Keefe D was arrested. Keefe D, his name is Dwayne Keith Davis, and it turns out that he was connected to the brother that was in the car that actually pulled the trigger. I don't think Keefe actually pulled the trigger, but Keefe may be going to jail. They actually did a formal arrest. And we were also talking around issues related to conflict resolution and economics behind the death of Tupac and Biggie. My proposition has been that this was economic warfare, again, because Tupac and Biggie were both billion-dollar assets. And I was asking you earlier, maybe you can talk more about this. I really think, it was interesting. What's sad about Tupac and Biggie being killed is that I really felt like with these two guys, definitely with Biggie from Biggie's side, that I don't think Biggie really wanted to continue the beef. Like I kind of feel like
Hmm.
if they had been able to talk to each other away from all the distractions and all the media and all the ego-driven nonsense, I think they could have resolved this. I really do. And I think that's what made it sad and tragic because as great as Pac was, it's kind of unfortunate that he had to die so young. And Biggie, I don't think Biggie wanted to die.
No, I don't think Biggie wanted the beef as much as Tupac did. Honestly, just by what Biggie was talking about. Like Biggie went to Los Angeles, and if you listen to and watch a lot of his videos, he's like, "I'm there for peace. I'm here to peace. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to." He really wanted to squash the beef, and he thought. I think my understanding is that he went to Los Angeles, just to kind of mend ways and to
Talking
get
about
rid
when
of
he said,
it.
"I'm going back
Back
to
to
Cali,
Cali. I mean,
Cali."
it's just a beautiful song, but I don't think he came there being sinister in any way. But I just feel like there's something about we're missing out on. Who was the guy over Death Row Records, the one who's in prison right now?
Suge Knight.
We missing Suge Knight. He's an element. There's something,
Hmm.
he just looks like he could have horns coming out of his head. Like he just looked like he's up to something.
Well, Suge was interesting because it's fascinating that when I hear grown men talk about Suge, they all talk about like he scared them like little, like made them feel like little girls.
He scared me.
And you didn't even
Just
know the
watching
guy.
him on TV, I was like, stay
Big
away
old
from that
red suit,
dude.
look like a big
With that big
cherry.
cigar out his mouth. He just looked like he wasn't having it. He just looked like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Well, it's kind of sad because Suge Knight controlled a company called Death Row Records
That's
that
right.
easily could be worth $100 billion today. And this is in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I talk about what it looks like to build an institution in good, fertile economic soil. And what I see, with Death Row Records was there was just very bad culture, very bad economic soil that was not the kind of soil you can grow a multi-billion-dollar company. And you can't grow $100 billion company when you like throwing people out the window and gang banging, smoking weed and sherm in the studio and beating people up because you get mad at them or whatever. Like I feel like that was just kind of messy, and they needed mentors.
Mm-hmm.
They needed mentors that understood business to say, look, this ain't how you do business, man. You're gonna draw a lot of bad attention, and this whole thing's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, but the music industry and even like the Hollywood scene, I mean, it, if you think about what they did that was pretty awful. Sometimes there are white men in suits that do pretty awful things. Like I
Hmm.
remember, I think it was 50 Cent that was doing an interview, and he was saying, "Yeah, you talk about someone dangling you outside the hotel balcony." He said, "Ain't nothing more worse than having a man in a suit smile in your face and shove a contract in front of you, and you start reading it, and they like robbing you." He was like, "That's worse." That's worse than some of the things that we were doing to each other. Like he
Well,
talked about that.
well, we know that no one's been
Hmm.
more savage than the white male in terms of history, and
Hmm.
I mean they bought all of New York for like $25 or so. Like, I mean,
Stole it
they were
from.
pretty gangster, right? So there's
Mhm.
no question. It's not to say that the black man was the first one to behave in this way, and there's systematic elements. Now, one thing that's interesting is I see Primo's comment. He makes a good comment. He says, "I'm sorry, but you cannot speak on black issues in the hood community if you know not whom you speak of. Having a PhD does not equate to everyday street struggle knowledge, with all due respect." Well, I appreciate your comment, Primo. I think that's a great point. And one of the
Wait, are we missing
well,
something?
no, no, I'm not. Well, no, but his point is an accurate point and quite valid. And what I would say is, Primo, remember, I'm not just a finance PhD who happens to be black. I'm a black man who happens to be a finance PhD. So what happens a lot of times, Primo, is that people assume that because I have money now, that I've always had money. That's not true. I've probably been poorer than you. I was born in the projects. My biological father was not there when I was born. I've had friends get killed. I've dealt there's not a single hood issue you could describe that I have not seen up close. I've had scenarios where my life was threatened, all kinds of things like that. I have way too many relatives in my family that have went to prison, right? So all the issues that affect black people on a systematic level, never make the mistake of assuming that because a person goes on and rises out of the hood, that he don't know the hood, that he ain't seen it,
Yeah,
and
I mean, and
right,
even
and you grew up in Gary, which is the
I,
murder capital of America at that time when you were growing up.
yeah, I mean, even being from Gary, Indiana, and I don't live in Gary, Indiana now, but it's that's my background, and so anything that happens in any black community is so tied to me. It's so tied to who and what I am. I just feel connected. Of course, I am connected to my community, although I don't live in Gary. I don't necessarily live in the hood, but that doesn't mean I'm not connected to the hood. And things that happen in the hood, it does affect me. Like I read about it, I follow up on it, I go there every once in a while. I am affected by it, but that
Well,
doesn't just because I don't live there doesn't
also,
mean that
well,
I'm
if
not keeping it real.
well, I mean, think about it. When we were both kids, we were black and poor. I mean, that's like they wouldn't. I wasn't born in those suburbs, and neither were you.
I wasn't in suburb.
Your family had struggled more than I did. Like at
Well,
certain times.
I don't know if you because I came from educators and my dad had a PhD in
It
social
was
work. So
right,
it's not
but
like
you did not
he
live
was an
with your dad.
educator. Yeah, but he was a college professor. So I spent
But you
I
did
spent
not.
about 5 months out of the year with him. So I don't know if
Well,
I
wait,
could
summer's not 5 months. Summer's only three
yeah,
months.
but I spent
Oh,
December with
okay,
him.
got it.
But the thing is, so I can't necessarily say that I was like abject poverty. I can't say I was poor because my mom, she had a master's degree. She was a
Your
therapist.
mom
So,
would take popcorn in her purse when y'all went to the
well, she wasn't
movies.
spending money watching The Color Purple. She wasn't. We watched The Color Purple. She wasn't
Well,
trying to spend, money. But the thing is, so I mean, I don't think it's an accurate thing. Just to say like drawn out poverty wasn't necessarily there, but it was Gary, Indiana. So, the element was there. I was pretty sheltered. So, I mean, it doesn't even really matter, but just being in Gary and just, I was sheltered from a lot of stuff, but I knew it was there. I was still connected to it,
in my experience, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of black people can relate to this. Give me a guess if you can relate to this. Just because you're in the hood, don't mean you have to have a hood mentality. Just because you're there doesn't mean you have to embrace the habits of everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people like literally there is absolutely nothing these guys were experiencing that I did not see up close. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the difference was attitude, mindset. I had parents that were like, "Don't do that stupid shit, or you're gonna go to prison just like your cousin did." I got so many relatives in jail, so many friends that are dead, so many people that I grew up with. Do you know I used to go to my grandma's house every weekend? My grandma, again, if you go to that neighborhood, you cannot hang out in that neighborhood very long because there's a lot of violence there. That's where I would go every weekend. Both of my grandmas lived in neighborhoods like that. I kid you not. And I had 5 boys that I would kick it with. And I hate saying this, but every single boy, and these were all my cousins, and one of them was like a play cousin, every single one of them ended up on drugs or in jail or in some terrible situation. What made a difference for us was my parents had a different attitude. My mother was like, I'm not raising you like they're raising their kids because I don't want you to end up in a messed up situation. My father who raised me, not my biological father. My biological father was in prison, on drug related situations. My father that raised me, who also actually got over a drug addiction after he came back from Vietnam, had an attitude that says, unless you want your life to continue to be like this, you need to make sure you don't do these things. It was that simple. So it
It's
was
not
our
easy, but it
it,
is
it's not right.
simple.
It's not right.
Yeah.
It's simple but not easy, and I totally
Right.
get it. I completely
Mm-hmm.
get it. Right. So, but I think that there are some people who understand that it's a complete myth to think that because you're born in a certain condition, you have to stay there. You do have a choice. You just have to have the courage to make a choice that may not be popular around everybody else. Everybody else maybe like my mother says people used to make fun of her about how she disciplined us and would have us go into after school programs and would be somewhat strict with us. And she said that's because I don't want you to end up where those other boys are going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank her for that. And I think there's a lot of parents out there that are doing that. So then what happens is you go on and your kids become successful. My sister's a medical doctor. My brother is he's doing very well. I have a PhD, and people assume that you were just born with a silver spoon in your mouth because somebody fed them this line, this myth that you can't get out of poverty, you can't get out of a tough
Well,
situation.
it's your mentality, of course.
Right,
It's
like
your
we know all
mentality.
about the free cheese and
Um,
the car getting repossessed, and I mean all that.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well, I never had any of
I
that
just,
kind of stuff. Like what
I
you
you
just
know what
described, I didn't come nowhere near that. I
but
think
you
I
would
was really
I
sheltered.
remember you telling me stories about going skating, and you were like, I can only afford to get the
Well,
drinks and the
my
chips
mama didn't have she wasn't gonna give me a lot of money for the skating rink, but if I wanted to go to Borders, did they have Borders back then? If I wanted to go to
to go get
Walden,
books.
if I wanted to go to Walden Books, and pick out a book. She always had money for that. She ain't had no money for candy at the skating rink.
Yeah, I think,
Come on, wait,
and I
hold
think,
on, wait,
I
wait, wait.
what?
Shout out to Screaming Wheels skating rink. Oh my God, anybody from Gary got to be like so excited because that was
Screaming
where
Wheels. That was the joint.
Screaming Wheels. Oh my God, I was good. Let me tell you, I would have to clean my room and do the dishes so that I can go to Screaming Wheels
That
and
sounds like
listen to
fun.
LL Cool J and house music.
Oh gosh.
Like it was like the best of my childhood. But
I
anyway,
bet. Okay,
oh my
I
God.
think Ron might be from Gary.
Who's from Gary? Anybody from Gary
Ron
know about?
Adams.
Even people from Chicago would get bussed over to Gary to go see Screaming Wheels, to go to Screaming Wheels.
Ron says that's his hometown. Do you know Ron Adams?
I don't know Ron
You don't know
Adams.
the Adams family?
No, I don't, but it's all right. He my cousin anyway.
Yeah,
He
well,
my
by the
cousin.
way, everybody, you listen to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia
We
Watkins.
like so off
My
topic.
name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. Alicia's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. My website is boycewatkins.com. And also, my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So if you would like to take a look at my books, or also my wife's books are also at drboycebooks.com. So if you go to drboycebooks.com, just look up the word Alicia. You can find her books on the drama-free family, way to resolve conflicts and have peaceful relationships and peaceful family situations. Feel free to go to drboycebooks.com and just look up her name. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So we're talking about Tupac in terms of who killed Tupac and the arrest that was made of Keefe D, uh, aka what, I keep forgetting Keefe D's real name. I keep messing that up.
His
Uh,
first name starts with a D.
it's Dwayne,
Dwayne.
Dwayne Davis. That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Keefe D was arrested, and I guess we're sitting here like two old people reminiscing
We
over
are.
over stuff from 30 years ago. But I'll tell you what. I think that with hip hop at that time, what I also felt was that there was just something that happened in terms of the failure of society when it came to economic opportunity, the way they poured drugs into the black community. Then
Mhm.
the gangs kind of became very prominent. And then you have music that mass marketed gang culture and death culture. And what also some people have pointed this out, that this coincided with Biden's crime bill, where right around like the early to mid '90s, Biden had passed or helped pass this legislation to
What was
get
the crime bill? Can you tell us what it was? What
basically
did it say?
I should pull it up and just read it one day, but
Hmm.
specifically, generally speaking, the idea was that because we got this problem with urban violence and drugs, we're going to invest, I think it was like $10 billion into building lots of prisons and lots of putting 100,000 cops on the street. And then also they came up with things like the three strikes law, three strikes you're out, 25 to life on your third offense, that kind of thing. And basically it just obliterated the black community. I remember my greatest fear at that time was going to prison. And I was in graduate school. Why would I, as a black man in
Yeah, I'm
graduate
like,
school,
why are you worried
because I
about going to
because I
prison?
because when you see shit happening to your friends, it makes you think, oh my God,
Mm.
this could happen to me. Because I saw good people get caught up, just have the wrong friend. Because a lot of guys knew guys who maybe were dealing or whatever. And the idea that you could just be on a phone with somebody and get a RICO charge and have somebody give you 50 years in prison was very scary. It was very scary.
Wait, if you talk to wait, is that what was happening?
Yeah.
If you talk to somebody on the phone who was a drug
Yes.
dealer, even though
Yes.
you did not know they were a drug dealer, you're going to prison?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
what
well,
the hell
it's
is
well,
that?
like there's a story out there about a guy who's been in prison for 25 years. He hooked two guys up, helped them and he introduced them over the phone or something, and he got caught in a RICO charge. That's where RICO charges are so scary, is that you can be part of a criminal conspiracy just by like doing something that you didn't even think was that bad.
I thought it was like riding in the car with somebody who was doing something illegal or
Mm-mm.
something like that.
No, I knew. Well, Mario Lloyd. I fought to help try to get Mario Lloyd out of prison. He went to prison in the I think late '80s, and on a RICO charge. And he was a kingpin in Chicago, and they
Oh,
did.
so he was doing
Oh,
drugs,
he was absolutely
selling
selling. He
drugs.
was absolutely selling drugs. There's no question about it.
Okay.
The question is, does the punishment fit the crime? So
Yeah.
what happened was when they arrested Mario, They gave him 14 life sentences with no parole. They also gave his brother 20 years in prison. They locked up his sister and they also locked up his mother. I mean, like, what was his mother really doing that means this old lady needs to be in prison? And I think it was just because she was holding some of the money and or whatever. But it was just kind of one of these things where it's
Ooh, that's tragic.
it's terrible. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
was these laws were being applied to obliterate black families. I mean, that whole family was obliterated. Mario's son, who was Mario Jr., was literally killed, I believe, doing
Really?
something drug related in the same neighborhood that his father used to deal drugs. But his father was not around to really mentor him.
Well, would his father mentor him in the right
I
direction
think so.
since he
Yeah,
was okay?
yeah, because my father was on drugs and
I was talking
chose
about selling
he
drugs.
probably sold them too at some point. I mean, I don't. My daddy did a lot of dirt. My father's. My father. Like I'm the professor. My father was the gangster. Like he really has killed people and all these other things. He just chose to use. He became the Malcolm X, Malcolm Little type, where he chose to take his powers and use them in a way that was still.
Transformed
Well,
or reformed.
yeah, and also he has multiple values related to family. He protects his family. So, but he's still going to kill you for his family. He did it before he was soldier. He was a soldier, whatever. So, but my biological issue, but he was a guy that seemed to have the same clearly toward taking care like a white child. He was more into sort of living their life.
It'd be interesting to hear more of his story. Just find out.
Oh,
Well,
Fee Funkerson and Travis Allen said my mic is muffled again. Can you guys hear
what
us?
is going on?
Let us know if you can hear us okay. Hotel. Hotels have bad Wi-Fi.
Are we back in?
I
We're
think
back
we're
in
back.
now.
I think we're back
We just
in.
got booted off.
I don't know if they can hear us now. Okay, New Age Barbarian says your voice turned robotic.
Oh,
The mic is disoriented. Can you guys hear us now? Let us know if you can hear us
we
now.
always have
If I
sound
if I don't see a
issues.
bunch of yeses, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that it's time for us to go to bed.
We should be going to sleep anyway.
I like this though. I think it's so much fun to just get 123 of our best friends and just talk shit in the middle of the night. It's really fun.
Well, the person talking is you. You're the one.
I am. I am. I need to be quiet.
Do you want me to talk about conflict resolution?
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to talk
Give us some Dr. Alicia. Give us some intelligent Black people jargon so we can walk away with something. So what about conflict resolution? Like I think conflict resolution is important because if you think about Biggie and Pac in a conflict resolution standpoint, if these two guys could have sat down with Farrakhan
a mediator?
and worked it out with a mediator, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and then decided to become allies again, I think they could have made $1 billion. So, and I think it applies to a lot of our families, right? You have that relative that you could have been doing great things with, but instead you're fighting. Why is conflict resolution important, and what are some steps for us to be able to embrace that as a family value?
Okay, so number one with conflict, it was interesting because I was having a conversation with someone earlier today about it. That wait, what are you laughing for?
Sure, Travis Allen said, Dr. Alicia, my family trauma will have you on the couch.
On the couch, be like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? I mean, the biggest conflict that I think a lot of people have is conflict within themselves, not being clear on what they want in life. I mean, I think that's the first part of conflict resolution is what type of relationship do you have with yourself? Okay,
Okay.
that's the very first thing because when you start understanding and learning about yourself, your triggers, things that get you scary, you aren't able to deal with that pain. How you deal with that pain is you use your defense mechanisms, right? So if you're not able to face some of the Look at this.
I know it's terrible, but keep going.
We cannot go.
Okay, so you're teaching us about conflict resolution. Keep going.
Yeah, conflict resolution is to deal with the conflict going on within yourself. Number one.
Okay, so you said that a lot of people that have conflict with others are really dealing with an internal conflict
They're
in them.
dealing with their internal conflict.
Okay,
That's the
okay,
number one piece.
I can see that.
And number two, I mean, I do think listening is important.
Okay.
When someone has a complaint or someone's upset with you or there's, an issue, I think it's put your own stuff aside and sit down and actually talk to the person. Don't react. Don't listen to respond. Just really get their side of the story, their own unique perspective.
Mm,
And allow yourself to say it's going to be different from my perspective,
okay.
instead of being in the stance where you want to argue somebody down. So, you know what? Let me just hear what you have to say. And then it's their turn to listen to you. It's taking turns. And if you can't do it one on one, then you do need a mediator.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I did get the impression that Biggie Smalls was open for that conversation. He wanted to squash that beef. And
Hmm.
Tupac just wasn't going to sit down and listen to him. Tupac was going to go run away with what he thought. He thought Biggie Smalls and all of them were trying to set him up to be killed when he was shot 5 times. The first time,
Yeah.
an inch of his life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's sad. I think it's sad. I would say, for anybody listening, my little 2 cents is I think we should all learn from these tragedies. I think that sometimes in the black community, I don't see a lot of the public seeking of knowledge and understanding in the sense of saying this terrible thing just happened. What can we learn from this? How do we prevent it from happening again? Like you guys know, I'm getting my airplane pilot's license. I'm learning how to be a pilot, and there's a lot of training that comes with that. And one thing that they say, they make a joke this where they say that all the FAA regulations are written in blood, and that
Mm-hmm.
means
They
that
are.
yeah, that means that every time there's a crash, they study the crash and say what happened here, what do we need to change to try to keep this from happening
And it
again.
becomes a policy.
Right, because of right. So I think
Hmm.
the black community should take the same approach because we have so many tragedies, and I just don't see a lot of people like I don't see a lot of public conversations saying like, okay, how do we like keep this from happening again? When Whitney Houston died, everybody's just like, R.I.P. That's so sad. We're gonna miss you. But nobody's saying like, hey, this is why we need to really keep drugs out of our community because we're losing a lot of talented people because of drugs. So I think that in this particular
Hmm.
case with Tupac and Biggie, in my opinion, I think we can do just kind of a virtual autopsy to some extent to say, okay, these two great legends died, these billion-dollar brands died due to a conflict that was clearly avoidable. What can we learn from this that's going to make us better? So that the next time we run into a situation where in your own family, you may have two people in your family that have the ability to do something amazing together. How do in fact, the minute you discover that they can do something amazing together is the minute you should start thinking about ways to protect that relationship so it doesn't destroy what you've built, you know? Um,
Okay, and I like the idea of protecting the relationship, and but I think it also needs to be calibrated because some relationships need to dissolve.
mhm,
I'm not of the stance that by any means necessary, this relationship has to happen. It
mm,
Not all relationships need to be there. And sometimes when you have those critical conversations, you can actually have more clarity and say, you know what? I need to go in this direction. You need to go in a whole nother direction. Goodbye to you in this moment. And
mm,
thank you for the experience that we had. I wish you the best. I wish you the best and you go your way. I don't know why not everything needs to come together.
mhm,
So, and that's when I said the very first part of conflict resolution is getting in tune with yourself because sometimes you need to have that clarity in that direction in yourself. And the saddest part, nothing's worse than having things dissolved.
mhm, mhm,
Nothing's worse than that. But when you're not compromising who you are,
mhm,
to maintain a togetherness, you're not compromising who you are just for the sake of the togetherness. I think that's the key. It's just saying I need to go in this direction because I have to do, of course, sometimes I need to do what's best for me. And that's not being selfish at all.
Mm, yeah.
No, that's honoring you and honoring what you know your purpose to be, and that's sacrificing your whole life just for somebody else, to keep somebody else happy. That's not good. I wouldn't want anybody to do that with me.
Mm. That's an interesting thought. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I get conflicted when I think about stuff like that
I know
because
you do.
I know my father sacrificed his happiness to be there for me, right?
Mhm.
He realized that the children were more important than the adults, and I think because I know there's many times where he would have been much happier just being in the streets
But that's
doing
not what
whatever he
I
wanted.
said. I never even mentioned the word happy,
Hmm.
which is interesting. You heard happiness, but I didn't mention that.
Hmm.
I didn't mention happiness.
Well, you talked about sacrificing yourself to make somebody else happy,
Mhm.
you know,
But
but
what's funny is that you can't make anybody else happy. You know what I mean? We're talking about making somebody else happy. He said that he sacrificed himself when he himself wasn't happy, and that's not what I was talking
mm,
about.
yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that 2 cents. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I think conflict resolution is the best investment you can ever make. I think that if you ever have any business or any sort of entity, including your family or institution or whatever, that's actually succeeding and making money and doing well, I encourage you to consider budgeting for somebody that can just be literally like the family therapist, like the person that can help you with conflict resolution so that you can have a peaceful way to resolve your disputes. I think that with Tupac and Biggie, the biggest thing that happened here was it got out of control. A little bit of beef is always good for hip hop as long as it stays in the ring or stays on the record. When it starts to, just like a boxing matches are awesome, but when they get out of the ring, the referee stops the fight. And football games are great as long as the violence is on the field, right? When it gets into the stands and gets out in the street, then that's a problem. So I think this is what happened. I think that in the case of Tupac and Biggie, it got to the point where it got pushed beyond the limit that it should have gone. And now as a result, here we are, almost 30 years later, still talking about this, and I just think it's very tragic and sad. So anyway, we're gonna head on out, guys. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Uh,
Yeah, I'm happy people still hang out with us even though we had all these audio issues.
yeah,
Like we
yeah.
we left and came back in and people were still hanging in there.
I know
We
we're so
appreciate that.
bootleg. We're so low budget up in here. Anyway, also shout out to the Wealth and Power conference that's being hosted in Austin, Texas, by the converse. I think it's called the Conversation TV. I think that's what the name of their platform is, the Conversation.tv or the Conversation TV. And also, Dr. Alicia's website is coaching with dralicia.com. So you can feel free to go take a look at that. And also, I want to invite everybody in Atlanta, October 20th through the 30th. We're going to host the All Black National Convention. This is where we gather lots of intelligent Black people and to really solve our problems and focus on our issues. It's also a great place to network and meet awesome people. So feel free to join us. Go to allblacknationalconvention.com. Not only can you be a guest, but you can also be a vendor or a sponsor. If you have a Black-owned business and you'd like for us to put you on the map, feel free to be a sponsor. The deals are pretty good. And also, my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And the principles that we discussed today with Biggie and Pac and everything else, we actually talk about that in the book because a lot of wealth gets lost when we can't stop fighting. So let's stop fighting each other. Let's start loving each other. Let's start being the best we can be and make our community great again. So God bless you guys. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. And we will talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye everybody.